With a surface area of 435 acres, Deerfield Lake is known as the second largest lake in the Black Hills. But I believe the crystal clear water and the many beautiful coves is what you will remember. July 2, 1874. Lieutenant Colonel, soon-to-be General, George Armstrong Custer and the men of the 7th Cavalry left Fort Abraham Lincoln near what is now Bismarck, North Dakota. They had orders to travel to the uncharted Black Hills of South Dakota. They had several missions for this trip. They hoped to find a suitable location for a fort, possibly a route to the southwest, to look for gold and other valuable minerals, and finally to search out the white men who had broken the 1868 Laramie Treaty by entering the hills. Not much was known about the Black Hills at that time, as very few expeditions to the area had ever returned. The mile-long procession consisted of approximately 1,200 men, one black woman named Sarah Campbell, who was the cook, 110 wagons, each pulled by a team of 6 mules, 300 head of cattle to feed the company, along with many horses. They camped at several locations throughout the hills, including one on July 28, 1874, when they camped in the beautiful valley that now holds the waters of Deerfield Lake. From Hill City, South Dakota, take Highway 17 west for 20 miles. The lake sits at an elevation of 5,906 feet, has 435 acres of surface area, and 16 miles of beautiful shoreline. This is the largest lake I've paddled so far, and it took me 2 days to go around the whole shoreline. This video covers the first day, taken in mid-July of 2023. I launched from the Deerfield Cove boat launch, paddled north to the dam, and followed the northwest shoreline to the Custer Trails boat launch. Video 2 will cover the southern part of the lake. It is within the Black Hills National Forest, so you will need a recreation pass to use the lake and the area around it. Day passes may be purchased at the sign near the bathrooms at the boat launch next to the Dutchman campground. Annual passes may be purchased online or at several ranger stations throughout the Black Hills. Check the Black Hills National Forest website for options. There is a wonderful book called A Paddler's Guide to the Streams and Lakes of the Black Hills. It was a group effort by members of the Black Hills Paddlers and was edited by J. Kelly Lane. It contains a wealth of information about the lakes and streams in the hills, and I would highly recommend it. According to the guidebook, the best of the 3 launches at Deerfield Lake is the one on the south shore along Whitetail Loop. So the first day I braved the road construction to drive there. But since I had gotten a late start, the parking area was already full of razors, side-by-sides, and motorcycles, along with a lot of people. So I turned back to the Dutchman boat launch at Deerfield Cove, just beyond the Dutchman State Campground. Thankfully, there were only a couple of kayaks on the shore and a boat inspector who did a quick check of my boat, asked a few questions, and sent me on my way. I should mention that especially now, with the threat of zebra mussels infesting local waters, you will run into multiple watercraft inspection and decontamination stations throughout South Dakota. All boats are required to stop, even kayaks, canoes, and SUPs. Please remember, they are staffed by very nice people who are doing a great job of keeping our lakes clean, so help them out. Deerfield Lake is known for many things, including state record fish, but all the coves there are to explore makes it one of my favorite spots. Around every corner you're bound to see beautiful scenery, a variety of wildlife, flowers, and many spots where you can land your boat, eat a lunch, and stretch your legs. Not far from the launch, I came across a vulture dragging a dead carp up onto the rocky shore. He didn't want to leave his prize, so I was able to quietly drift toward him and only disturbed him once I started to back paddle. The earthen dam impounds Castle Creek and is 171 feet tall with a spillway on the right side. It has a capacity of 15,700 acre-feet of water and was built to supplement the municipal water supply for Rapid City, Ellsworth Air Force Base, and also provide water for irrigation. The average depth of the lake is 30 feet, with the maximum depth of 90 feet located near the dam. Construction of the dam was started by the Farm Security Administration, which was part of the New Deal agency created in 1937 during the Great Depression. The dam construction began in 1942, but the Farm Security Administration was dissolved 4 years later before the dam could be finished. So the Civilian Conservation Corps took over the project and finished it in 1947 during World War II. Motorized boats are allowed on Deerfield Lake, but the entire lake is considered a no-wake zone with a speed limit of 5 miles per hour, so it's a great place for a long, peaceful paddle or a day of fishing. With protection from the wind, the water was as smooth as glass, and I suddenly noticed how incredibly clear the water is in this lake. So clear, in fact, that it freaked me out, because I could see how quickly the depth changed beneath me, from areas of shallow ledges that suddenly became sheer drop-offs. But on the other side of that coin, there are many places where it becomes extremely shallow very quickly, with huge underwater boulders suddenly appearing out of the depths. So it's easy to see that all of this adds up to a very good reason for a 5-mile-per-hour no-wake lake. There is a long, narrow cove west of the dam that gave me a glimpse of a plant I hadn't seen before. With small pink tater-top shaped flowers and just a few leaves on the surface, it was rooted far below by a slender vine trailing down into the shadows. I did do some research on this plant when I got home, and as near as I can tell, it is part of the Potamogeton family, which is a group of aquatic plants with the common name of pondweed. The genus name means river neighbor, which I like. There are many different species of this genus, and I haven't been able to narrow it down, so if anyone has more information on this plant, please let us know in the comments. The location of Deerfield Lake has a lot of history. Not only was this valley a campsite for Lieutenant Colonel Custer and the men of the 7th Cavalry, but it was also the original location of the town of Deerfield, formerly known as Mountain or Mountain City. In 1879, Mr. John A. Miller and his family decided to build small cabins to rent to travelers on the Cheyenne-Deadwood stage line. It became a popular stop for others, including the wagons from the Cambria Salt Mine, which was located 18 miles straight west near what is now Highway 85 north of Newcastle, Wyoming. Due to loose boards on the wooden wagons, they often spilled salt. This drew deer into the fields around the cabins, which in turn created a very good hunting ground that became known as the Deerfields. It is also said that the salt that drew the deer actually came from the common practice of salting the wheels of the stages for better traction. But either way, salt seems to have been the reason behind Deerfield's name. The cabins were abandoned in 1888 when the Miller family started their own ranch and founded the town of Deerfield. The post office was built in 1892, but by the 1940s the land was purchased by the federal government when FDR decided to build the Deerfield Reservoir. One of the cabins was auctioned off and sold to a neighboring family called Anderson. They moved the cabin by ox cart to its current location north of Deerfield Lake. The cabin was used as a summer retreat and sold several times, with each new owner adding comforts to it such as electricity and telephones. It was even used as a wedding location for the last owners. In 1970, the land and the cabin were sold to the Forest Service and became part of the Black Hills National Forest. Repairs have been made to the cabin and the fence around it, and you are able to visit this interpretive site if you can find it. Take the Deerfield Road past Deerfield Lake, turn right onto the South Rochford Road, then onto Slate Prairie Road. at the Kinney Canyon Walk-In Fishing Area, Pullover and Park. The cabin is a short distance off the trail. It's not labeled on Google Maps, but if you zoom in on the west end of the dam, then look north, you can see it. The Kinney Canyon Walk-In Fishing Area has a 4-mile trail round trip that follows Castle Creek to the backside of the dam. In 2023, there was construction and repair made to the area. They built fences and gates to keep livestock out, planted willows, and work was done to stabilize the banks. There are many hiking and biking trails near the lake, with various lengths and difficulties. If you forgot to pack something or need additional supplies, you might check out the Mountain Meadow Store and Campground, which is just south of the lake. This is also a popular spot because of the U.S. Forest Service trail system, which contains hundreds of miles of trails for UTVs and dirt bikes, with many interesting and often historical stops along the way. This is still a great hunting area with elk, deer, and turkeys, and the lake and surrounding streams contain rainbow, brook, and splake trout, which is a hybrid cross between a female lake trout and a male brook trout. These are also known as speckled trout, hence the name splake. Splake is stocked in Deerfield Lake every 3 to 5 years. Lake trout and splake are very similar in appearance, but splake are usually smaller and slimmer and darker. The shape of the tail can also help you identify between the two. Lake trout have a deeply forked tail with sharp points, and since a brook trout has an almost square tail, the splake's tail is only slightly forked with rounded points. If you feel like fish for supper and are up for a fascinating challenge, there is a third way to positively identify which species you have. You can count the intestinal appendages when you cut the fish open. Appendages are the small worm-like extensions on the fish's intestinal tract. Splake will have around 65 to 85 appendages, and the larger lake trout will have between 120 to 180 of them. Many record-breaking fish have been taken at Deerfield Lake, including an 11-pound 14-ounce splake and a brook trout weighing 12 pounds. If you think you may have caught a new record fish, there are a few things to remember. To qualify as a state record, your fish must be weighed on a certified scale, and you must have the species verified by a South Dakota Game Fish and Parks biologist. Check their website for more information. The Custer Trail boat launch is almost straight across the lake from the Deerfield Cove launch, where I started. This launch has a great dock and a solid shoreline. There isn't much sand, but only small rocks there, which make launching and landing a breeze. You do have to go around the west side of Deerfield Lake and take some gravel roads to reach it, but it's well worth the drive. And when I return to paddle the rest of the lake, this is where I will launch. From here I cut across the lake and finished my first day of paddling this amazing body of water. I hope you've enjoyed this introduction to Deerfield Lake. The southern part of the lake will be covered in a second video. Please like and subscribe to my channel to receive notice as new videos are added. And until next time, I hope to see you on the waters of the Black Hills of South Dakota.